Very much. I will maybe start by responding to my colleague about the question about the markets. First of all, we believe that we are in an oligopoly or monopoly, as it was said, and right now we see two platforms, as I said, over 200,000 establishments. It is an increasing market. The online bookings, of course, my colleague speaks about 25%, but it's very rapidly increasing. I think it has been plus 6% during the past 4 years. What I think is important to say when we look at the questions of asking for the ban of parity clauses, we think that the situation is not fair, and when looking, for example, as what is called free riding, I think my colleague from Booking.com was talking about it, it means people looking at booking to make the market and going to the website of the hotel to book it. It is very important to say that there was a request from the German cartel office proceedings, and Booking.com could not prove negative consequences on that. The same with DG competition, with the European Competition Network at the end of April 2017, only 1 year ago, which did not find any negative impact for platforms, including France and Germany, where the bans had been implemented already. So it's very important for small establishments to regain their entrepreneurial freedom. And when I was speaking about brands, which I think is extremely important, we know the complexity of how the traffic is being driven on the internet. Of course, when you don't have the control of your brand, it's much more difficult if you want to have a small establishment still having the opportunity of a direct booking. This is not possible, and when my colleague talked about direct booking, I fully agree with him, and said, well, if we want direct booking, we have to give the opportunity for a small business establishment, a small hotel, to give other conditions. So that will be the only possibility for that. There is also a point that I want to make, it's the question of reciprocity. Right now, for example, when a platform like Booking.com is using the brand of an hotel, the hotel cannot use the brand of Booking.com. So that's something very strange. And number two, which I think is extremely important, is with regard to parity clauses. You all know that today, when you give a room to a platform, you have to apply the same conditions. I found yesterday in the terms and conditions of Booking.com that they have the possibility to decrease their price up to the level of the commission. Personally, that's a personal opinion, but this is not a fair practice when you impose parity clauses to your partners, knowing the marketing power of those platforms. This is the reason why hotels are booking on Booking.com, because of the marketing power, and they will still be there even if parity clauses will be banned. It's what the DG competition has been able to see. So I think that's a very important point, looking at this. Secondly, I think there was a point about rankings. We see that when, for example, a business user, an establishment invests more in rankings, there is no clarity on the criteria. That must change, and I think it's very important. That's why we have called to have an algorithm officer which would be nominated in order to be able to clarify how the rankings are working. So that needs to be transparent, of course, for the businesses, and it needs to be transparent, but that's another point, for the consumer, who right now doesn't know when it is organic results or where it's paid for rankings. About the data, we consider, and it's maybe to respond to MEP Van Bossut, as of now, when you make a transaction with a platform, the email which goes to the hotels is not a proper email with the name of the person. So there is not a direct contact, and we consider that the data of the guest, which is generated by the platform itself, shall be back to the hotel, number one, to better serve the customer, and of course, to invest accordingly and to innovate to respond to all those demands. So that's the three main points that I wanted to do. And to conclude, it's about the complaint handling. We believe that right now there is not a fair system. We have seen many small companies and members being delisted or having no contact with Booking.com, and the proper system is not in place. So we really need this system of complaint handling. It's Article 9, where we consider that no subjective criteria to drive complaint handling. We should make it more transparent, even when the complaints are considered negligible, as is being said. So we need to do this. That's a very important point, in addition to the question of sanctions and penalties, Article 3.1c and Article 4. Thank you very much. And the last point, sorry, to conclude, we consider that it is proposed that there would be a revision every 3 years. We consider that, considering how quick this market is evolving, we should revise the regulation and the state of play every 2 years. Thank you very much.